sending pictures, people got out to me and told me what to do. Oh shit.
Did they pay you $20?
No, because it was 40 because I didn't have to send that picture.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 403 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on August 28th, 2023.
We need your help to support Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 an episode. Show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right.
And that takes us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? It's where we also talk about things that we've recently completed on the Patriot Challenge. As is tradition, we'll start with Liz. Liz, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some gin and tonic. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Were you cleaning some paintbrushes earlier or something? Because gin is paint thinner, basically.
I'm not sure if Liz is terribly unimpressed or Liz is frozen.
I don't know either.
Liz is so mad she broke the internet.
Well, I think she's just frozen.
Okay, well, maybe we'll hear from Liz again later. Oh, I guess Liz can't do the transition either. Let's go to Peter.
Yeah.
Peter, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Sleeman's Original. And
Ah,
I'm drinking my water.
good good man.
Ah,
Also have a Sleeman's. It's not what I'm drinking right now. I just had one a little while ago.
nice.
Sorry, what were you doing for the Patriot Challenge? I was
I've
busy
been
getting
drinking.
excited about beer.
Been drinking my water and reading, and that's
Ah,
pretty much it. Yeah, I don't think I've practiced any skills lately. Yeah. But, yeah.
Other than just being awesome. Right?
Yeah. I guess maybe I practiced my networking with fellow Canadians from abroad recently, but
There you go.
yeah, something along those lines. Sure. Pierre?
As per usual, I'm drinking some whiskey and Pepsi. And Patriot Challenge, I'm doing pretty good on my waters because it's warm and work sucks. And successfully hit 12 rounds at 1,000 yards. Not all crazy good scores, but they all scored. So I was very ecstatic with that on the weekend. Did the PR course and lots of fun. Got to see a few people I haven't seen in a while. Not for long, but it was good. What about you, Gavin?
I am drinking, as per usual, a Jack Daniels and a Diet Pepsi this evening, and also catching up on my water. So that's part of my Patriot Challenge stuff. The other thing I did was, as Pierre alluded to, there was some shooting going on this weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Pierre, even though we were both on the base. I was busy on the other end of the base doing a different type of long distance shooting. My day, however, was not as successful as Pierre's. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, I could hit the broadside of a barn if I felt it that day. But on the Saturday, I feel I did much better at CQC. So
Sounds like you're ready for the RCMP.
yeah, pretty much. Just give me a
man,
machine gun
you'd
and I
look
will light up the side of the
stylish in
fire
one of those
hall.
hats.
Yeah. But you know, I would ask Andrew, but I see Liz has joined us again, so I'll throw it back to Liz. So
Oh, thank you.
you got the gin and tonic part of it, and then
That's the important part.
yeah,
Is it though?
That's the important. Yeah, I mean, yes. I will say that the skill developing thing this week has been a little on point. We've had harvest slowly coming in, so working on processing food and all that stuff. So I guess I'm not doing really too much new, but my mom and I picked up a freeze dryer a couple of years ago. So freeze drying a bunch of stuff and,
Nice.
just making my little stash of winter food a little bit bigger. So That's what I've kind of been up to this week. So that's pretty much it. I have no other skill building that has occurred. Maybe I have drank half of the water that I'm supposed to. So that's it.
Okay. Well, I won't make Liz guess where we left off since we had Liz come back. So it's me. And
okay.
I am drinking double up coffee milk stout from Tomorrow Brewing Company. Peter's insulting me, but is muted, so it's okay. I can't hear the insult. I got the
did
closed
just see
captioning
him
on
mouth,
that one
damn
though.
it. Yeah.
I was going to say, I felt that one. So
Yeah.
cross some barriers.
It's different. It's
It
not
was
bad.
really, it was a really good burn.
I
Okay.
enjoy myself a milk stout from time to time. It is 6.5%, which I'm okay with that. It's a little weird. It's not bad. I'm not a big espresso guy. It's like I like coffee, but I don't really enjoy like super bitter coffee, like burnt flavor coffee. And I
I
find
kinda-
espresso tends to be on that end of the spectrum.
Do you not find though that stout
Definitely don't have
is
a
very
Turkish coffee
similar?
then.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like,
I mean,
don't you find
yes.
that stout is a little like what you'd imagine the beer's version of coffee is?
Yes, because of like the dark malts.
Yeah.
And it is kind of on that end, but I don't get the same burnt flavor that I get with like French roast coffee, like real dark roast
Mm.
coffee.
Fair.
So
I think
slightly
you have
Do you
like a
drink
different,
your
but the-
coffee
good-
black though normally or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I like my black, I like my coffee the way I like my men. Black and strong.
Easy there, Sophie. Easy.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
yeah,
And as
anyways.
everyone has alluded to, I also practice skills. One of them was drinking lots of water because it was hot out on the weekend, where I was outside one day running a shooting match and one day running and participating in a shooting match and watching my optic fuck all the way off on me. So good
Fun
news,
times.
Pierre. We figured out why your scores were as high as mine. Bad news, I have to get my optic repaired.
It's still
Does
a win in
anybody
my
feel
books.
like it's an excuse?
Still a win
I
in my
mean,
books.
Yeah, I'm very happy with how you did. That was quite
Yeah.
impressive. I'm
Yeah,
just
that was-
mildly irritated that the optic decided that it was going to wander about and not hold zero for me.
It sucks.
I didn't ever hear about this. So obviously you had a good shoot over the weekend, Pierre.
Yeah,
What
like
was
it
your
was.
score at 1,000 yards.
I'll have to double check, but it was over 40.
He landed all 12 hits,
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
12
not just
Okay.
on paper, but like inside the scoring rings.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So at 1,000
46.1.
yards.
Yeah,
Sorry, you said
46.1.
46? Wow.
Yeah,
that
46.1.
is- So for those of playing along at home, we take 12 shots at 1,000 yards. The first two are non-convertible sighters, so they don't count for score.
Yeah.
They just are indicated to show you where your impacts are on
Yeah.
the target. The target is a 4-foot square with figure 12 superimposed on the 4-foot square. Figure 12 is the head and shoulders of a charging soldier silhouette. So it's a 24-inch square on a 48-inch square, give or take.
Yeah.
Maybe it's only 18 inches square, not 24 inches. I forget exactly
Yeah.
the dimensions of figure 12, but it's the head and shoulders of a person on a 4-foot by 4-foot board. So as long as you hit the board, you're basically going to get 3 points.
Yeah.
Each
It-
shot is
it's-
worth a maximum of 5 points if you shoot the center of the charging figure. So that Pierre got all 12 of his shots on the board.
Yeah.
Excellent. Highest possible score of 50. Pierre shot a
Yeah.
46.
Pretty good.
This is pretty good.
Yeah, I was very happy with it.
I hear
Well
your shooting partner actually did a little bit better than you. I hear
Yes.
Chris, our friend, got a
Yes.
50 out of 50 on
Our
that one.
problem listener.
Yes.
Yes.
So good job,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, no, he did very well on that one. Everything was very good for him. And
That means your
There's,
spotting was excellent. That's what that means.
I mean, I'm just looking and I was like, that's a V. Do that again. Was pretty much all my spotting. Still working on trying to figure out spotting and give
How did
directions
you
for
find
adjustment.
the wind this weekend?
A little bit different than last time. Last time when we did
If you were to
last
describe
competition,
it in words,
temperamental.
that also works. Well,
Yeah.
the primary direction, where was the wind coming from and what made it temperamental?
It was kind of coming from in front of us and kind of off to the right, I found, but it would be nice and calm, and then wind would pick right up. Grass was a little long depending where you were shooting. I know when we were doing the 300 yards, a target came up. I was shooting on the left and Chris was shooting on the right of the picket. And he said, he's like, I can only see like a third of the target because there was grass at 200 yards that was covering everything. But the winds, I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't crazy strong. Had to make some adjustments for it and did the best we could, or at least the best I could. And I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it'll come with time, but never shot at 1,000. So I mean, all 12 of them ended up as a score. I'm happy.
You should be happy. That was a good
Yeah,
score. And those
that was-
the switchy headwinds are tricky because we were only
Yeah.
I was shooting a 308 and my wind calls were 0.2 of a mil in either directions. Like
Yeah.
very, very small adjustments, but also 0.2 of a mil
Yeah.
at 1,000 yards isn't exactly small.
I would
No.
agree. So said earlier, I was on the other side of the bay shooting at about half that distance. I was shooting 5.56 and my wind calls were like a half mil to a full mil.
Yeah, that's wider than a target. So
Yeah. So while Pierre nailed 12 out of 12, I hit 4 out of 50 shots. I did not have a good day. But those 4 shots I did make, man, were they good.
I mean,
were
you
doing-
successfully
Mental
turned a
attitude.
lot of money into a lot of noise. Sometimes even twice when you fired it and when it hit the steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do like Dave's comment there that the wind was switching sides more than a politician.
I think pretty solid weekend. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the shooting that we did with the Ontario Rifle Association. Gavin, I heard RCMI had a good time with the shooting you were doing.
Yes,
Nice.
good times.
But I mean, I was up 32 points from the last time. 2 different style matches. I didn't shit the bed
Excellent.
as bad on movers. Yeah.
Sorry,
like
and
in
again,
comparison-
for the listeners at home, 32 points on a scale. How many points are possible for the day?
200.
Right. So
Per-
more
per
than a
person,
10% increase of your
Yeah.
last score,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
significant improvement.
Yeah. Movers a little bit better this time. So a lot of
Movers
Movers
you
are
have
tough. Movers
experience
take
with them,
practice.
Yeah. So movers last time, people said like, depending, just sit there, it's going left, move your scope over and, ambush it, just wait. And I would be jumping, I'd be all over the place with it. So this time I kind of tried doing the move with it, follow it and squeeze. And it seemed to work a little bit better for me. So I'm like, that's probably the hunting, trying to get a rabbit on the run or something that I'm like,
Yep.
it's probably just a little bit easier for me. So that one was a bit better. Still some work to do on it and a few other ones, but overall it was a grand time. I very much enjoyed it.
Excellent. Excellent. May I inquire as to the butts?
So
So here's my thing. I have a specific. There were. I ran the firing point when I wasn't shooting, so I didn't spend any time in the butts this weekend,
Yep.
which is normally a place that I enjoy because I go and I get halfway undressed and I put my sunscreen on and I
Yep.
provide the very best of service in the butts. And I noticed this
Yep.
weekend that the service was not as speedy as I would have liked. There was a couple of times
Agreed.
where there was like we had some wind the way that Dave and I wanted it, and we were
Yeah.
like a little impatient about the speed at which the targets were coming up at.
yeah, it's, and I mean, from what I gathered, it looked like maybe a few people that were a little new, which
Yeah.
everyone needs to start somewhere. I'm sure during those nice wing calls, you were hoping for the same putt service as the last time. But yeah, it was slow here and there. And I mean, everybody's got to learn somewhere and at some point. So I mean, good on people to come out. Hopefully they don't get
It's-
too discouraged, but
It can be
hopefully
very hard to learn how to service the butts.
Yeah,
Yes.
servicing the butts is
Yeah,
difficult.
and at the 7, 8, 9, 1,000, you know, those
All the
timed
deliberate
ones where,
matches.
yeah,
Yeah.
the deliberate ones, like the quicker and more efficient you could be, the way more appreciative the shooters are, because taking the extra 30 seconds, the wing can change everything. Like, so you know,
Especially with the swishy wins that we were having, where it was
Yeah.
like, I'm left edge of target, I'm right edge of target, I'm left edge, because it just kept coming back and forth. So it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to wait till the wind's in the same spot that it was in, so that I
Yeah.
can not adjust my wind calls.
yeah, and it just looked like people were new at it and, you know, trying it out. So I'm happy new people got out. I mean, a friend of mine from the other CPP came out, and he
Sorry,
was
the
like,
what?
a friend from the other CPP, the copycat one. He came
The
out. Brad,
Communist Chinese Party?
yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah,
CPP.
that's the one.
Oh, the CPP, not the CCP.
yeah. So he came out and he was like, I just kind of want to see what it is. So he, you know, helped out where he could. So he came down because Chris was running the line when I was in the butts. So it was nice to have someone to help. I mean, you could have figured it out, but it does make it a lot easier with two
It
people down there.
is,
Yeah.
especially with
Yeah.
new people, it is easier to have two,
Yeah.
because somebody can watch the target or somebody
Yeah.
can watch the berm and somebody can be on the target.
Yeah.
It does.
So
It does
it's-
certainly make it easier with two people,
Yeah.
but it's way more fun to just do it really fast by yourself.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, I hear that some
people.
people much prefer to have two people in the butts.
Hmm. It
Mm.
may be more fun with a friend, but it's certainly more efficient to do it on your own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheaper too. Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm
it was,
amazed that we managed to talk about butts this much, and Liz is just like checked out.
Because it's always Liz is
Nope.
the problem talking dirty
Yeah, I
jokes,
was gonna
right?
say, I was like,
What do you,
I'm
we're talking about the butts in the back of a shooting range. There is no sexual innuendo here whatsoever.
none.
No, that's just me.
Obviously.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
yeah, it was
Well,
it was a grand old time. Thankfully, Chris was there to help out. I'm sure he helped me get a few extra points on the shooting. It was good to hang out with them for the day and learn. And everybody, I mean, we got smoked by a few people, but I did better than last time. So that's all
There
that
you go.
matters to me.
And
Exactly.
we did have special guests this time, not just
Yes,
Brad
we did.
from Prepper Podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Dave
gonna talk
wants
about
us to
special guests.
I
Okay,
was
I
saying,
will
I
play
was
the
like-
special guests.
Guys.
Um,
Dave wants us to shill. Yeah. it's okay.
Yeah,
Victory
yeah.
Ridge Sports came out and brought some demo rifles to show off to everybody.
Yeah.
So
And,
Victory Ridge Sports had their team there spending the day in the butts.
Yep.
Victory Ridge in the
Nice.
butts all day.
Victory.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean they.
No, it was
thankfully,
super cool. They've donated some prizes, right? I think there was three $50
yeah.
gift cards on the table today.
I don't know
or
how much they
yesterday.
were, but there was 3. Yes, from them there was 3 donations from them. So, and yeah, no, it was good because I'm sure that might have been a long day for them being in the butts all day, and you know we're
Yeah.
kind of busy doing whatever. But yeah, it was nice to see someone come out and see what it was about. Seemed like they were intrigued, and I think they kind of got to have some fun as well.
Yeah, one of their staff definitely got to shoot at 1,000 for, I think it was her first time shooting that far,
Nice.
which was
Yeah.
great. And they spent the day and brought out some demo rifles. And I think Ryan is the owner over there. I think he's
Yes.
going to try to get involved and get himself a rifle that's got an appropriate optic for the distances and type of shooting that we're doing.
Is that
Mhm.
really kind of like the differentiating factor? Is that
I mean,
You
scope?
could
Like-
do it with iron sights. It's just not going to be a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen
and-
people make 1,000-yard shots with irons,
Mhm.
but you're not going to be super competitive. It's
Yeah.
hard to do that. You need somebody to like be spotting you and be walking you on to the target.
So
A
having the right
magnified one,
equipment
yeah.
does help, but I mean,
Yeah.
also basically any hunting rifle in 308 can play this game.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna come in first because there is a bit of an arms race, but
Yeah.
I shot PR for probably 3 or 4 years with a BDL Remington 700, like a blind mag, like holds 4 rounds. It takes 10 rounds to run a match.
What?
You just load it and go, and you can get by. And I did it with like basically a glorified hunting rifle for a couple of years.
Yeah, if you can get something
that
that's got
rifle is sitting in this rack, right
It
over
is.
here,
That rifle has changed
Yeah.
homes and hands and is still in the
Yeah.
family.
and it's still
if you-
making good hits.
Yeah, if you can get something that'll hold a 10-round mag, would probably make it a lot easier.
Yeah,
Ha-
we
having
swapped the chassis out
detachable-
on this. Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
detachable mags is definitely going to make for a better day. Having a 10-round
Yeah.
mag is fantastic, but
Yeah.
detachable mags work, and having some magnification.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily require extremely high magnification, but having good quality glass to be able to like
Makes a
see
difference.
mirage and bullet trace the swirl, really, really, really helpful. But that's more
Yeah.
glass quality than magnification.
Yeah. But for
Yeah,
those
'cause
that,
I mean-
don't know, Victory Ridge is the retail end of the Maple Ridge Armory that makes all the new straight pull rifles.
But I mean, even at 1,000 yards, I don't think I was. I think I was maybe 16 on my magnification, because anything past that, you can see anything with that Mirage.
The
But,
Mirage was really bad again
Yeah.
this weekend. I think I was
Yeah.
shooting between 8 and 12 power all weekend.
Yeah, I think I went up to 15 at 1,000 at most, I'd say. But yeah, quality difference. I mean, I bought a scope for the rifle and then upgraded the scope.
The one
but yeah.
piece that will probably help, that I would say that a lot of new shooters are not going to have to come out and try this, and certainly not required for the first couple of matches, but the thing to probably spend money on after the rifle, on and all of the on rifle, except you would benefit from quality optics mounted on quality rings, on a quality rail, on a quality rifle, possibly with a chassis, definitely with a detachable magazine, with a good bipod and a decent rear bag. Once you're not on the rifle, though, the thing to spend the money on is a spotting scope. It's shot as a pair, and having somebody that's got a good optic to spot with, even if it's the optic on their rifle, is going to be way better than having just like a mid-range, low or mid-range optic on your rifle, just so that you can stand up on a tripod or be back a bit and get over top of your shooting partner, so that you can really see what's going on in the butts.
Yeah, and you can kind of follow it. I'm still trying to learn when it hits. I'm like, it looked like it hit the shoulder. Like, I'm still trying to, I can see the bullet trace, but like trying to predict where the impact is on the target.
Well, that all
Which-
comes, from
Yeah.
practice, experience, and seeing all of that, right? It's
So, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, you could get in it for very cheap, but I'm like, you can get a fairly reliable firearm and spend the money on a good quality glass is way better than buying a really good rifle and putting really shitty glass on it. I
Yeah, for
definitely
this
learned that doing
game.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you can get into racing with a Miata, but like, are you going to have a whole lot of fun for very long? Probably not.
No, and you're not going to brag to your friends about it.
No, certainly aren't.
On to some listener feedback, since we are talking about my favorite problem.
Yeah.
Yes. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. And then we got an email from Chris. I saw Andrew, Gavin, and Pierre this weekend. They looked happy, well rested, and full of energy to keep ignoring the listener for a second week in a row. I would not expect the show tonight. They also complained about a lack of time for drinking. So if they show up, chances are they will already be drunk.
So I know Chris tends to take things very literally and to heart. And I think if he reflects back, what I said was people needed to stop talking because they were cutting into my drinking time.
Like on the podcast?
No, at
No.
the range, because
Like,
Dave was trying to
what?
provide instructions and do a debriefing and give out awards, and
Oh.
people kept
Everybody was
yammering.
flapping
Andrew
their
was
gums.
whining. Got it.
And I lost my patience after a minute or
Yeah.
so, because every minute that I have to listen to them talk about something I don't care about is a minute that I can't be at my trailer drinking my beer.
And the more he has to hear, the more he has to drink. So it's like an exponential problem here, right?
Yeah.
He's got less time and more to drink. It's not good for anybody, really.
It
Yeah.
kind of sounds like a non-issue.
I'm with Liz.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like there's a time and place to talk, and then there's a time and place to listen.
Shut
to
up and listen to
instructions.
Dave so I
Yeah.
can go home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, hey, we've all done this for the day, and like we can hang out and chat somewhere else.
I
So
feel
let's,
like if
you
we
know,
talk
we've all
about this
done this.
enough, we'll be able to pull that little demon out of Andrew tonight.
We've
Think
all
if
done
we,
this
like,
for the
dissect it
day,
enough.
but Andrew had to start his day an hour earlier than everyone else to go deal with the army and the army nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And then when everybody else finally leaves and Andrew gets to lock the gate, Andrew has to go back to talk to the army again for a bit.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
And then
true.
do all the
So
army
do
paperwork.
we, so can I just like assume that when you start referring to yourself in the third person that you're hitting a new level of irritation?
The demon is coming out, Liz.
Got it. Okay.
yeah, and I could
You're
get
doing,
it,
you're
right?
doing your
Like
job.
it's
Thank you.
it's one of
Keep
those
voting,
things
yeah.
where you get simple instructions. Go do this. Don't take an hour to do something that takes a half hour.
Like
I
talk
literally
about how to
asked the
pull the demon
person-
out of Andrew.
I literally asked a person next to a flagpole to take a flag down, and it got delegated to somebody that had to walk to the flagpole, and I nearly lost my mind.
So the real question though, Andrew, is why didn't you do it if you were right beside the flagpole?
He wasn't. He
No,
he
I
asked
was
the
50
person next
meters
to him.
away
Oh,
from
okay.
the
I was
flagpole. and I
like-
yelled
like-
at somebody, and I was like, "You're next to the flagpole. Take the flag down."
Oh.
And then I saw somebody walking from a vehicle to go and take the, and I was like, "What?"
Just because you're on a military base doesn't mean people take directions.
It's
clearly
usually
the
the
Yell at
opposite.
them.
Yeah.
No, I still get to yell at them. That's in the
I was
job
gonna say,
description.
maybe, but I'm just saying they're like,
Yeah.
They know
Not
that
the same
Andrew
crowd.
wants to yell, so they're just feeding him, feeding
Yeah.
the beast.
The thing is, the
Feeding the
thing really
beast.
though, Peter, is I don't want to yell at people. I just
know.
don't
No.
have patience for
Mm.
those that don't listen.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean,
I hear that.
So my
So-
solution to that problem is to use
Join
my
the internet,
outgoing
go on the internet
voice.
with your friends and complain about it there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's probably
Yeah.
enough complaining. I want to thank Chris for his feedback. I don't
Yes.
want to talk about upcoming events. And I'm going
Oh.
to drink the rest of this beer and complain about whatever Gavin picked for show notes.
is the
Yeah.
beer tasting better the more you drink it?
It tastes the same. It's got a really weird mouthfeel. It's like very, very fine bubbles, like micro bubbles.
Oh, so
Oh.
it tastes more, so it feels more like foam in your mouth as opposed to beer.
Yes, it feels a little
Yeah.
foamy. It's a very
Yeah.
strange mouth. I don't hate it.
You
It's just weird.
Okay. You do
Yeah.
drink some weird beers though. So
What-
I'm
what
surprised
is
that
that
that's
supposed to mean?
like out of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh, now I'm on the
creamsicle
spectrum.
one.
I mean, to
Probably.
be fair,
The
there are
designated
several
HR
You're making the
you're
spectrums.
joke
supposed
I
to
was
know
thinking
better
about.
than
Yeah,
that,
there,
but go
there are
on.
several spectrums you could be on.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
On the spectrum of weird beers, the one you're drinking doesn't sound like the weirdest one you've drank on the show.
No, it's pretty pedestrian, really.
Yeah. I was
Middle
like,
of the road.
yeah. So that's all good. Let's get talking about weird shit.
Yeah, other
it's
people
More
on the
different,
spectrum.
different weird
Spectrum.
shit.
Yeah, different
Different
spectrum.
weird shit.
Former Oakville teacher with
Yeah.
large prosthetic breasts returns to classroom in Hamilton. So this is a follow-up from some previous weeks, months ago, with the
But-
giant fake titties at the
Do they-
school in Oakville.
But
Do they
that's not
still
the
have
same school
prosthetics?
that they left.
I didn't read this
right?
one.
No, so
That's not the
this-
school that they left. They were in an
No.
Oakville one, right?
Yeah, so they were
Yeah.
previously employed in Oakville.
Mhm.
And they were put on, I guess, like a paid leave while the school was trying to figure out how to address the situation.
I'm
I
not
do like
shocked that
how,
Hamilton picked them up.
In the
Not at all.
article here, in Hamilton, so a very reputable news source, or sorry, in Halton, they have the photo of the teacher with the giant fake boobies
I
and the
see
very,
that.
very tight shirt. They have actually blurred out where
Blurred.
the fake nipples are. So something that seems to be inappropriate for the news. I'll use that term lightly, the news.
Yeah.
Somehow is still okay for the classroom in high school.
I
It
have
also-
questions. I have a lot
Oh.
of questions. Since when are
Okay.
Yes.
nipples inappropriate? Everybody has them, unless they've had an accident or like some sort of a deformity.
And
What's wrong with
technically,
nipples?
women are allowed to expose themselves legally in public.
Well, in
But
public, I
so-
don't know if you can like walk around topless in a school, though. I feel like that's.
I feel like that's predatory at its highest level.
Yeah, but I mean, so also
Those
let's
wearing
be
large
clear that
prosthetics.
no
the
shirt,
Yeah, I
no
don't
shoes,
disagree.
no algebra.
but let's also be clear that
That's
this
how you
picture,
get
the
out of
person,
algebra homework.
What?
the thing
What
is
it-
wearing a shirt.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
find
Yes.
it interesting that
Yeah.
the article has decided that this is inappropriate.
I
So
know.
we're going to blur the giant
for like
fake,
mass media,
like-
but it's okay for kids.
thumb tip size nipples that were on
Yeah.
these ridiculously large fake boobs.
I
Because
also
that is
feel
not
like
fit
they're
for public
alarmingly-
Boobs, ridiculously large is sort of the way to go. I feel like that's.
Yeah.
But these are
Nobody
like,
wants small fake boobs.
Okay,
yeah, but these are so
Okay.
like comically large. Like
if you talk to almost any woman though, they're like, that's painful. When you have a big chest, it hurts your back.
Yes,
It
but
hurts
this is not a
everything.
woman.
That's the point. That's the
Yeah.
point.
It's a man
no
living out a
real
fetish.
That- and
woman
to be
would
fair,
be
the
like,
prosthetic ones
hey,
probably
I'm gonna
weigh a
get
lot
the
less.
biggest fake one. I know it's true, but it doesn't make them any more in the way.
I'm not
like-
gonna lie. I still haven't figured out if that guy's trolling or not.
but
I
so
haven't
this is
really
the-
either.
if they show up here at their
Like, that would
new
be
school
one
in
epic
Hamilton,
troll though.
are they though? Like at this point,
Yeah, but like long con, man. That would be epic.
I mean, I have definitely heard that take on it that this person is just trolling and like is
just
actually
seeing how far the system is like ridiculous.
but I don't know.
So
Um,
I
The
just
fact
want
that
to
it's
know if
going to another school and like they've put out this
Yeah, it's
whole
Hamilton.
thing because well, yeah, I mean, but you'd think that would be even Oakville being right
No.
on the border of where I am right now is a little bit more progressive, I would say.
Yeah, but
Hamilton being a
Hamilton's
very like working class town, this would
that's
definitely
not the word I would use to describe Hamilton in certain spots.
Dirty?
But does he
Disgusting.
get
I mean,
to wear
so
Gray.
there's two parts of Hamilton. There's like the mountain where all the rich
Yeah.
people live,
Yeah,
and then
And middle
there's the
class,
rest
yes.
of Hamilton.
I know. That's what I mean though. But most of the schools are down the mountain.
Yeah, well, and that's where all the working people. But I would have to see where this particular one is.
Yeah.
But either way, I guess when they were at Oakville, they got a bunch of bomb threats and all kinds of other
Oh, really?
things
But didn't
directed towards the school, which I am not condoning that, whether you agree or disagree with their actions.
Yeah.
Take
I
out
suppose it
your
is frowned
frustrations on
upon
the
to tell
person, not the
teachers that their
institute,
breasts
but-
are the bomb.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
Right.
thought the way that it kind of resolved at the end of the school year last year was that Oakville changed their
well,
their like
they were
dress code. Is that they changed their dress
investigated
code?
that, but
Yeah,
then
but they came up with a dress
ultimately-
code and implemented a dress code, did they not?
Ultimately, though, well, they didn't really like they did, but they didn't. It
It's a
didn't
very
outlaw this because
weird-
they determined that like to be able to prevent this from happening would be
like
an
a human
issue with,
rights
like constitutional
insanity.
things and all of that. So they
Yeah.
couldn't
yeah,
put the language in to protect the students.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it looks like somehow they managed to at least pass them off to a different school
mhm.
board, but that's not any better for the kids because now we're just exposing more kids to this nonsense. But on
Yeah.
top of that, because of all of the threats and everything that happened when they were in Oakville, the school board had to issue a statement. And so now between school hours and everything, the students will be, or at least the exterior doors will be locked. So the students won't be locked in. They'll be able to leave, but they won't be able to get back into the school.
How does that stop the teacher from doing this?
Yeah,
It stops parents from talking to the teacher about it.
they're more worried about the crazy
Oh.
people on the outside of the building than the crazy people that are allowed to be on the inside of the building.
I mean, I like where they're going with this. We should keep crazy people away from children. I mean,
Yeah.
like that
Don't
is
lock them
sound
in with
logic.
the children.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
I mean,
but
they
did the
could do
Boots
their
go to the
best
new
impression.
school
What was the
too?
guy in Walking Dead?
This is
You're not
up
locked in
the
here with me.
this is up the mountain. This isn't like the nicer
Other way
part.
around, Andrew.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
This
I
is
did,
up the
yeah.
mountain and actually a lot closer to like, well, more towards, like Caledonia and stuff like that. Not in
Yeah.
Caledonia, that explains a lot, but no, it's not. It's the nicer part. Well, not the nicest part, but it's definitely up the mountain, a little bit bougier of a spot.
But
It's a
bougie or
little-
not, bottom of hill, top of hill, in flood
No,
zone, out
it
of flood
does-
zone.
Believe it or
Still
not,
Southern
it
Ontario.
matters. It matters in Hamilton.
It's
Well,
still
Maybe it
Southern
does, but
Ontario.
like, are there
It's
schools
still
in different
inappropriate. Yeah.
at different a school at a different elevation? The door should be locked differently to keep the crazy people out.
So
No,
actually,
it's
so
just the acceptance of everything.
Nah.
Yeah.
The weirdness
No.
of
So if you get further down
things.
the mountain though, it's quite a different economic situation down there. And
So we should
yeah.
leave those
it's-
schools unlocked.
honestly, those school like it's pretty like okay, so this is 10 plus years ago that I lived in Hamilton, but we did some work at some of the schools down there and no dice. Like I mean, yeah, there's definitely a
Well.
big difference in terms of the schools down the mountain to up the mountain.
This is not a thing I would have thought about very much prior to becoming a parent, but like I'm very happy that I can't just walk into my son's school. Like
Yeah.
I'm very happy the doors are locked to keep the
Yeah.
crazies out.
yeah,
Except
and you
that
got to buzz in, and they got a
you-
camera
you
right
gotta
there, and they can
not-
see who you are. And
you gotta
all
not
the things,
hire
like,
them,
that's-
right? Like you can't stock
Yeah.
the building with crazies and then let the kids in. You gotta
So-
keep all the crazies out.
Well, so here's the thing is that by definition, that person probably by a certain standard is not crazy as long as their behavior aligns in a
By
certain
a
way.
certain standard,
No.
they're
We
well,
think that
yeah.
they're not totally, together because of the way that they're presenting
I
themselves.
would say there are a
but-
couple pupils
No.
short of a classroom.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean-
I it would suck to be, an administrator in the schooling systems though. But like, how do you navigate through that kind of bullshit?
I mean, you allowed
quit.
this
With
I'd
the
be done.
full
be in
force
there.
of the state behind me.
Yeah, but the problem is that they don't though. It's just a
Yeah.
pencil pusher that is like doing this and they can't do shit about it. Like
Well-
it's an entire school board of people that don't actually work in the system. They
So-
just, like have names on a board that make directives.
So
It's
I'll
not-
agree and no, go ahead and finish.
No, that
Sorry.
was it. Like it's just
Alright.
it's
So
it's
I'll
a
ag-
broken system. That's all I'm saying.
I agree, but I mean, if someone on the school board that thinks this is wrong, and there's more than one person, I have a feeling that they're in a position where they would be able to do something
Eh,
and propose and do things like
it's
if
got to
you're
be a
one
majority
person-
though, right?
so that's what I'm saying, right? So if it's only one
Ooh.
person, fine. There's not much you can do.
I
But
think
if
most of this stuff is
everybody-
voted on, right? Am I
I'm
wrong?
not comfortable with just making it a majority because, like, if they all
Yeah.
vote to have crazy people employed at the school, that doesn't
Yeah.
make it morally right. It just means that the
So-
majority voted for
So,
it.
so can we switch it to like having a majority of like, hey, my kid is at my school, and having the parents of that school be able to have certain says in something, whether it's
Well,
different
so
from
the-
another school or whatever.
The,
But,
the
like,
problem with
There's
that
no, yeah,
though is that like if we go back way back into the back catalog, the whole Carla Homolka having kids now and being able to visit her kids in the school because
Yeah.
they can't tell the parent they can't be in the school. It
yeah.
starts to get problematic. But step one would definitely be having the school not hire people that are crazy that have giant fake boobs.
I
to the
don't
point where they're
disagree.
grotesquely fake.
But
Yeah.
okay, so to address though what Andrew's saying, you're talking about like morals and things like that, but not everybody shares the same morals anymore. So there's no guiding principle that provides directive as to how they should look at the world and be like, oh, this is super
Homeschooling for
stupid.
everyone.
I don't
am-
disagree.
I am not sure that there is not a larger moral imperative in society.
I think
There-
people
there
tune it
is-
out. I think
There is
people tune it
perhaps
out.
not an overarching organized philosophy, like we don't all agree on the same set of religion, but I think we generally agree. Well, I mean, let me quote some Boondock Saints.
Yeah,
No raping, no murdering, no stealing. These are things that all men can agree on. I
Yes.
think I'm missing something in that
Paraphrasing
line,
a little
Gavin.
there, but yeah,
But-
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
don't
was
disagree
actually
though.
thinking
That
of the
was
same
actually,
quote myself. Yeah.
I want to
Well,
watch
if
that
you've
movie
got the
now.
actual whole quote, I mean, go for it. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the
Yeah, that's
no,
the
no
gist of
one,
it.
no sane person,
Yeah.
certainly no person that I want to share a society with is going to disagree with those 3 points.
No moral person.
but that's the difference is that
Yeah.
probably if you were to meet most of the people that are running the school system, you would not want to share society with a lot of them.
I have that feeling about
I
most
have a
people. I mean, they
solution
don't
for
even
that
have to
at
be in a
1,000
position of
yards,
authority.
So, but that's what I'm saying though, right? Is that unfortunately, as much as, we've got these criticisms, the reality is that these folks aren't playing on the same level as we are. Because even
No.
if they don't morally agree with what we're saying, a lot of people don't have the fortitude to stand up to other people and say, okay, well, this is extremely against my moral perspective. I'm leaving, like I'm picking up
and-
my toys and, playing elsewhere. And that
And-
does have an impact, but people don't realize that you have to be willing to take that leap to actually do it. Right?
And 90% of the reason we are in the scenario we are now, talking specifically about should this, teacher wanting to wear prosthetics and decide to do whatever, right? Nobody decided to halt this 10 steps
and-
prior to this becoming a problem.
Yeah,
and
that's
now
also
we're
true.
and now we're at the point where like nobody knows how to do it because now we've allowed all these rules and regulations about pronouns and identities and
We'll get to that one.
self-identifying.
There's some pushback happening.
Yeah, exactly,
But
right.
do
And I
you-
mean,
I-
those pushbacks should have happened a long time ago. We're at the point where I'm not
Yeah.
going to say too far, but we're just, now we're getting at the point where I'm like, this is just getting outrageous. Where I'm like, you have to, if you have a kid in the school system and you're not teaching them at home, like you got to have that conversation where it's just like, okay, what the fuck are they talking about in school? It's like, how do you feel about it? And then you kind of got to, obviously you talk to your kids with your parents about things, but it's weird. Like,
Yeah.
why is everyone so fucking weird?
So I just want
I
to
don't know,
quickly
Pierre. Are you
address
weird?
one thing that Liz said about that because people just aren't doing the things by using another Boondock Saints quote. because
Okay.
Best movie ever,
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
disagree.
right?
It's
Now
a
we
very
must
good film.
all fear evil men, but there is another kind of evil which we must fear most, and that is the indifference of good men.
It's true. Absolutely.
I know that it's difficult and a lot of people just don't want to speak up on things, but if you just don't say or do anything about it, are you any better than the people that are doing the thing? Because in a way you are condoning the action, the behavior, the whatever it is that is undesirable. So if you are a moral person, in my opinion, you do have a bit of an obligation to do something about it.
Well, and we are seeing that because one of the largest protest
Yeah.
groups in North America is actually individuals of different faith backgrounds. Like it's pretty interesting. And they're, like I'm not saying that people that don't have faith backgrounds aren't moral, but it's just different, right?
Yeah.
Like
And so, yeah, one of the ways it looks like that people are trying to do something about this in a moral way, whether you agree with it or not. In Saskatchewan, they
mhm.
have put some rules and regulations in place surrounding pronouns and all of that stuff for children. So if you are under 16 and you are in the school system, you must have your parents' permission to change your pronouns or your name or anything like that.
That's great.
It's weird.
No, but okay, so I think it's dumb that you have to change your pronouns or that you even think that that's a thing to do because,
Yes.
5 years ago that wasn't even a thing on the radar. But in some places they're telling teachers that under no circumstances are you allowed to tell parents. So at
Yeah,
least there's
yeah.
people advocating for parents at least being in the know and being part of the conversation. and still an authority on the conversation. You know,
Well,
like
and this is
to
the-
me,
if
that goes
you're-
back to
if
that
you're
thing
under
you're talking about,
16,
Pierre,
Yeah.
is the whole like, why are people not catching this before it gets too far? This is the
Yeah.
catching part.
And this
At
is a way
least.
for the parents here to become more involved in the school system and their
Yeah,
children's lives as part of the school system,
absolutely.
right? And I mean, if you're 16, you can't make legal decisions about anything, really.
Yeah,
So how is this any different than any other thing? You know,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they can say, oh, well, when I'm at school, I want to be known as this, that, or whatever, and the school automatically has to comply. That's not
How that should
like,
work.
I think it's a weird manipulation, and it's a really weird dynamic where at some point there was just a switch where children became the authority and teachers became the subservient, you know, working
Yeah.
class to the children. And I just find that odd, like, because I wasn't homeschooled for every part of my life, but when I did go to school, like you could still get like whoop ass from a teacher. Like there was a
Yeah, not
crusty
anymore.
old lady that, like, man, I remember her very vividly because I feel traumatized by her, but in a good way, you
Yeah.
know?
well, it's now,
It
I mean,
kept-
the
it kept
the
you on the straight
teacher
and
can't
narrow.
even call a student out, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you can't even vocalize that they did something inappropriate because that would be traumatizing and all of this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I-
so Gavin, there you know, in the position that you're in, and the background that you have, it's no different in the adult world.
Yep.
Right? Like you can't call somebody out in an email and be like, hey, don't do what
Oh.
this dickhead did at work.
believe me, I
Right?
know.
Why not?
And-
Yes, you
Y-
can.
be-
You just don't
well-
have HR and don't have unions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Peter on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
don't
what,
know.
but that's what I'm saying though, right? Is that like I have this conversation all the time with a couple of managers. They're like, I don't understand this. And I was like, you're not designed to understand it. Nobody
Yeah.
is. But
Well,
I have
and
to
it is-
word this email
Yeah.
a very specific way that panders to the way that people might feel attacked by.
Absolutely. It is
I
definitely
want them to
something I
feel
have to
attacked. That's
struggle
why
with.
I'm calling them
Yeah.
a dickhead. I want them
yeah.
to know that I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have other ways of, you know, communicating very effectively that
Yeah.
you're wasting my time. But
It usually
A
starts
But
with,
is
as
it
per
as
my last
satisfying
email.
as calling them a dickhead?
yeah,
No.
it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
If you
I-
ever get an email where Liz puts on her HR voice, just be like, oh shit.
I
I
want
mean,
one.
it is definitely
It's not
something
gonna
I
be
have to
good.
contend
Liz, I
with,
want
especially
one. You need
running
to send me
Okay.
one.
Okay.
multi-generational workforce, right? If I had people that were all my age or older,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
could
different.
absolutely be, hey, stop fucking around.
Yeah.
Like you're being
Absolutely.
an asshole, sort your shit out, and they would understand that, like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you're dealing with the multi-generational workforce and people that have now gone through the government indoctrination system.
Well,
they've
and I
been
think-
told
I'm
this,
gonna,
that, and-
I want to push back
Yes.
on 2 points there. Like Liz, you were saying that the schools are run by the kids now, not so much the teachers. But I disagree a little bit in the way that I think the teachers are the ones pushing this trash.
I
So
mean,
it just in that,
Yeah.
in what you were talking about as far as like, you know, how we were brought up in school is a little bit different for sure, but
Yeah.
the teachers have been the ones pushing for this trash, and that's why you're seeing them now push
Yeah.
back against bills like this. They don't want more parent involvement because that's hard. They want things to be easy. They want things to be their way, in
well,
the way that they've been doing things.
I don't
don't-
know the statistics or the data on any of this stuff, but I think that the younger generation that doesn't actually, maybe not all of them, most of them don't have children of their own,
Most of
are
them.
kind of have this perspective of how children should be raised.
Yeah, the left doesn't have
Yeah.
kids, they have
Ye-
yours.
Yeah, and it's like it's pretty misguided. So you're not wrong in saying that, but what's happening is essentially their weird takeover of the parenting scheme
Yeah, yeah.
is
you-
turning
you're-
kids into this like little tyrant group, because
Yeah,
then
I
the
agree.
kids also go home and parents who you know, maybe it's a single parent, maybe it's also parents that, you know, are just have a lot going on, and maybe they're just kind of a little too trusting that the school system is doing a good job, are super shocked when their kids come home and are little tyrants. That
I feel
Yeah.
like there are a confluence of factors in this.
Yes.
Peter, I think, is on the right track with some of that. I don't think I necessarily lay the blame at like individual teachers, but like the institution of teaching
yeah,
is incredibly left wing, because the institution of teaching is the institution of higher education, which the commies have done the long march. They've taken over all of the higher education institutions.
Yeah.
So everyone that goes through that is being indoctrinated into that way of thinking at some level. Like you can't
Yeah.
go through university
Yeah.
and then go to teachers college and not
Have
be the
yeah.
victim of some of that left-wing indoctrination, some of the
Yeah.
communist
Yeah.
ideology that the people in
Well,
positions of power in the university and post-secondary school system have.
Well,
And
and
then-
going into that profession, you're probably already sort of at least a little leaning that way, and then it just keeps.
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it's also like a self-referential,
Yeah.
like it. The problem compounds itself because of the people that are drawn to this type of work are the people that are more
swayed
easily
and-
influenced by this type of ideology, and then they get into a position of authority where they spread that
Further-
ideology to other people that can be influenced by it, and it becomes a compounding problem. But you also have teachers unions and administrative staff that are developing or picking curriculum for the teachers to teach, because I don't think the teachers are very heavily involved in picking their curriculums. But
I don't know. I think it depends.
I
They
feel
are
like
given-
it's very
well, basically
dictated
they're-
by their board.
Yeah, from what I
Yeah.
understand, they're basically given a curriculum, but it's up to them to decide to a
How
point
they
how they
execute
teach
it.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You must
on
hit
the-
these points, but like the
Yeah.
how to get to the point is not.
And where you
Yeah.
expand on them or what you
Yeah.
emphasize.
So I mean, much like how I don't blame individual police officers for the failings of the institution of policing, I'm not blaming individual teachers for the failings of the institution of education. But
Yeah.
in much the same way, it's a self-referential loop
Yeah.
that the worse it gets, because the people that are there are subject to the people that are there and making it worse on themselves, and it becomes worse from my perspective as a
Yeah.
logical, functional white man. If there's any other bigotry I can perform to offend you, I'd be happy to.
Well, here's one.
subscribe to Patreon.
Yeah, subscribe to Patreon. Yeah. On the emailing thing, like I'm very careful now not to use the left's language. Not that I'm going to come out and tell the people that are being dickheads that they're being dickheads in that exact language. I'll still be diplomatic about it, but I will not use their language when I'm talking to somebody about something that they're complaining about. From that perspective,
No,
I'm done with
I-
that because
I-
it's a form of capitulation, and I think that's something that conservatives, as you know, political conservatives have done too much, is allowing the left to dictate the language, and the right gets sucked into that.
No, I agree. Language is important, and if we're using their things, then yes, we're giving some credit to it at the very least.
Mhm.
Whereas if we are still polite and do all of the things, but don't fall into that trap, then that can be a good thing, right? It's a way of us pushing back, but in a way that is respectful and polite and can be heard, rather than just like, oh, there they are being, bigots again, which I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna get called anyways, but
Yeah,
there's
Yeah,
less
no,
of an
I-
argument there.
and I agree with that for sure. I'm just
Yeah.
wanted to push on that point a bit.
No, I think it's an important point. I mean, it's the same thing when you have like the firearms debate. Well, there's
Yes.
a reason why we don't call it a weapon, because it's
Yeah.
not unless it is used as one, right?
It's only a weapon if you choose it to be.
And there are people that will get all bent out of shape and say, well, this and that. And it's like, well, no, I think language is important.
I agree. I agree. Anyways,
Yeah,
people
to-
suck.
Yeah, and to go along with the new rules and regulations, there's a bunch of people that protested it, saying that you can't do this because it's just damaging to the kids and putting the youth at risk and all of that. But part of also the reason that this article talks about here that the other one didn't, for the reasons why they put this in is because the school board had a third party come in to do sex education talk, and while the talk was on the curriculum and curriculum appropriate and all of the things, they also left some extra materials around that were not age appropriate or part of the curriculum that caused some problems. So part of the other rules and regulations that are putting in place, aside from the needing permission to change your gender or name, is to stop third party people from being allowed to come in, and it can only be the teachers that do the sex education stuff until they figure this all out.
I think that's a
Like-
good step.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's
I-
one thing to bring in educated people on the subject to talk about it, but they still need to keep it within the confines that have been agreed upon by the curriculum. Outside of that is not appropriate.
I find
Yeah.
I find a couple of things really fascinating. Number one, I kind of love how Canada has all of a sudden become a country that's willing to actually protest.
Well, the left
For
is
what
always
they-
protest.
Yeah, but
Oh,
you still
When you
don't
have
see
all
them
that
as
free
much.
time because you don't have
I
to
know.
have
You
a
don't have a job.
job.
Or
Yeah,
kids.
but I mean, there's counter protests, and there's kids getting walked out of schools because they refuse to participate in this, and I really appreciate seeing that. And as much as I don't love the left or the liberal protesting, I do like to see the culture of protest developing in Canada, because I do think that the people are the ones that hold the government accountable, and it kind of shows a little bit of a spark of interest in what's going on. Even if I don't agree with it, I have to say that I'm grateful to see it developing. But this one article, it's really interesting because this protest, like, they're protesting things that they're protesting against this rule in a school that had no effect up until 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Like, their lives existed the same way that this policy is making it exist. Like, what in the last 3 to 5 years has changed so much that now they absolutely have to have this ability? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. What changed? Like, 5 years ago, pronouns were I don't remember ever seeing it.
Gay marriage
an
was
email.
legalized. That's what happened. And they jumped down that slippery slope as fast as they could.
I think that really
guess.
is, though. I think that's just the next.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
next,
Progression.
the next thing
Age
will
in
be
social
legalizing
decay?
pedophilia.
Yeah, that's
Pedophilia.
that's unfortunately
Well, I
already.
think this sort of some of the things I think tie into this next one here that we can just kind of quickly go over. But
Segue.
the barriers to care persist at Winnipeg gender transition clinics. They hope to chip away at the backlog. So there is a 15-year-old that apparently is caught in this weird gap where they are too old at 15 to be accepted into one gender transition clinic, but too young to get into another. They are
Well, I mean,
seeing-
this problem seems like it sorted itself out. They shouldn't be doing that.
Well, exactly. But I mean, if you look later on in the article, they say that they've got, originally when they started doing this, they had nearly 24 people in 2011, but now they're getting 75 a year. So there's been this increase in people that are wanting to do this, which means I don't think that that's a normal rate in society of people that feel this way. And I'm not trying to say that there are people that don't feel like they're in the wrong bodies, because there absolutely are. But I think the school system and everything else is
It's
pushing
the
that.
rate of
Yeah.
occurrence that I think is the cause for concern in this.
And that increase pushes all of this other nonsense as well, right? And
But this is
Yeah.
part of the victim hierarchy that we have in our society, where you need to be special and you need to have participation trophies, and you have to be you have to be different from everyone else, but also socially accepted by everyone else for being your version of special.
Yeah.
Right. So this
But he's
is
a snowflake, you know.
well, but
Well, and
I mean, that
that's-
is kind of, I mean, I realize this is kind of a like a right-wing conservatard talking point,
Mhm.
but the victim hierarchy on the left is that, again, bash on teaching for a few minutes. In the education system, you get told you're being special for being different than everyone else, for needing accommodations, for having to be treated differently, for needing a special case for whatever your particular brand of being different is, which is not the way that education used to be, because we very heavily based on the Prussian system of sit in rows, learn your reading and writing and arithmetic, and become a good cog in the machine for the fatherland, which we don't really do now. Now it's become the specialist person that you can become so that you receive all of the benefits that society can confer onto you for being unique and special, and call
Which
anyone
makes
who
you not
disagrees with you a
special
bigot.
because they all become the same thing. They're all being pushed to the same
Well,
thing.
but
So
this
there's
is
no,
this is the
yeah.
you can okay who are becoming all of the spokesmen for all of the major products.
Yeah.
Is it athletes or is it trans people?
Yeah.
Do people want to grow up to be athletes, or do they want to grow up to be trans people? Well, who gets to be on the
Well, they-
Wheaties carton?
I think they
Well,
wanna
Bruce Jenner, so
become-
both, but
Yeah, but that's so that they can, be better at the sport that they want to participate in.
that's right. You can be the
Until-
number one man in the sport, and then you can be
I'd
the number
like
one
to-
woman in the sport.
I'd like to also believe though that as much as that stuff is very prevalent in the news and things like that, that is still just a loud minority. And
This
that
It doesn't
we
matter
have
that it's a
just
loud minority.
No, I
it's
don't
the fact
disagree
that
with
the
that.
minority
But
is
that's the-
expanded to the size that it has
Yeah.
as rapidly as it has.
Yeah, at
What
a
was,
rate
what
that
was
is
that number that you
not,
had, Gavin? It went from a dozen to 70 in the course of a
Yeah.
year.
well, a couple of
Yeah.
years, but that's still like,
That-
it shouldn't be exponential growth in this. It should be, if this is the thing that occurs naturally in society,
I-
it should occur at
absolutely.
the same rate around the world with everybody all of the time.
Well,
But-
across populations, but
Yeah.
yes.
But
but
that should
people
be a
don't
thing, right? If
actually
this is,
people are fucking around with social
But-
experimenting
but
and
that's,
not paying attention to psychology or sociology in its basic form though. That is
And
part of
that's-
the problem.
and that's the thing that I have issue with, is that like, this is getting to the point where this is not a natural occurrence anymore, where it's just somebody that
Yes.
has, whether you believe this is a mental disorder or
Sure.
a normal thing is irrelevant, it should be happening at the same rate.
I
It's
think
not.
it's a social
It is
movement.
Being absolutely accelerated by having people go through the school system and do all of the things, so it creates the problem. And Peter's not wrong. If we keep going down this road, like, they are going to be
Peter's always wrong.
justifying
Hey.
pedophilia, and they already starting to do it, and that's the
Yeah, they are.
scary thing.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Wood chipper don't care. Wood chipper
Um,
go burr.
I think one of the big roots of all this though is fatherlessness. And that's why
Yeah.
like, so much of my time outside of like,
Yeah.
well, just my
Compounding
time in
factor, but I
community
agree with you.
is
Yeah.
focused on building men up, because just having a father in the home doesn't matter if you're a good dad. All that matters is a dad being there and around is the number one point of reference for or whatever the term is, for success in
Indicator.
life, indicator
Yep.
of success in life.
Yeah.
It's a higher correlation than IQ.
Well, so without, setting too many people off, that's been a pretty standard statement and proven study in African American communities for decades. And
Absolutely.
now it's just becoming a standard
Well,
across the
And-
board,
and
right?
if you look, I mean, specifically that community going back in time when father figures, and this is going to all sound terrible, but stuck around a lot more,
Yeah.
they were doing well and they were on the up and up. But then as soon as the culture changed and they didn't stick around,
Yep. Well, and there's a lot of
dipped,
like socioeconomic and social reasons for that. Like you know, there was
Compounding
very
factors.
there was very specific targeting for certain communities on
Well, and
how
I
to
think
break
it's-
them
it's-
down and to degrade them, and that was one of the most successful ways to do it. And if
And
you
they're just
think about how
repeating
that
it now.
translate exactly, if you think about how that translates into the rest of social culture, you
Yeah,
know,
They're,
it is astounding. And you know,
it's the same game plan being run again, but just on a different
Yeah.
group of people, and it's not making anything better, it's only making it worse. Like, if toxic masculinity was a thing, and I'm not saying there aren't shitty men out there, because there
yeah,
are.
but we just
There
used to call
always
them
are.
douchebags.
Exactly.
But if that was such a thing that your average man was toxic, then why is it that children that are removed from masculinity aren't thriving,
Yeah,
right? They should be, they're not,
yeah.
you know, and we've done all these things, and like, I don't want to, you know, turn this into a men's right podcast, because that's not what it's about, but
I'll do
like,
that.
It could be. I'm
I'm
with
in.
Peter on this. Men need
Yeah.
rights.
we've taken away Men's Mental Health Month and replaced it by Pride Month.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
I
Right?
yeah, and I
We
and
still
I
have
also think-
November.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. And
And
sober
some people
October.
celebrate early.
Sober
But even
October is
then,
also
though,
for
like,
the
Sober
men.
one of those
October,
things
for
where-
everybody.
If
No,
you
but-
support,
That is quite
you
the soup
know,
tickler you've got there.
if you support men's prostate care, somehow
Yeah.
that means that you are against helping women in breast cancer, right? Like, we've come to that
Yeah.
point where it's like, oh,
Well, they
because
have a
you're for
breast
this,
cancer
you're-
month too.
Oh, I know, but somehow you can't possibly support both.
Or you have to actively
I actually don't
advocate.
support either of
But
them
you
Yeah.
but here's the thing is that it's not, and
because I don't promote
this is
pharmaceutical
also
companies.
fair enough. That is fair. But it's also, to what you're saying, Gavin, it's not just about like supporting something. You can't, you know, quietly be in support of something. You have to be an activist for that thing. That's what they're
Yeah.
calling people
But
to.
that's the thing. The
And an
minute that you
ally, and it has to be
do
so
that for one
dogmatic.
thing, it means
and
that you're
everything.
automatically against everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
Well, but that's one thing that people on the right, and especially I think in Christian circles, is that we don't stand up for anything anymore. We're not activists.
truth.
We need to be doing more of that. That's like you said earlier, like it's nice to see some counter protests and some, you know, like good protests for good things,
Yeah.
because those are the people that don't usually say anything,
Yeah.
because we've been trying for way too long, thanks boomers, to be quiet and just live our own lives and it'll just go away.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, it really doesn't. And you know, there's always like big discussions that you can have around, you know, how to save society and everything like that. But kind of at the end of it, I think that you kind of just got to do for yourself what's best, right? Like, I'm responsible for myself, and
Well, it's Jordan Peterson, right? You clean your room, start there. You
yeah,
have to build your way up. Like you can't just start as well, this is exactly what the left does, but you can't start as an 18-year-old fresh out of whatever
yeah,
and jump into thinking you know everything and think you're going to save the world. No, you need to fix yourself first.
So, but here's my thing. I actually think that pretty much everybody generations past have always thought that. Here's the difference. Nobody is there to take them down a peg or two.
Yeah. 'cause they
Nobody
don't
is
have dads.
willing to yeah, there you go. Full circle. But there's also people not willing to like stand up to them and tell them to sit down and shut up. Like those
Yeah.
teachers, honestly,
100%.
some of the worst aunties and grannies and old ladies in the world were teachers. But guess what?
Yep.
It's the whole kind of like fuck around and find out vibe. You know, they definitely had that energy. Like, oh yeah. Now everybody just wants to be, oh, well, I don't want to crush so-and-so's, you know, artistic
do.
soul.
I'm with
That's-
Peter on this. Crush them.
Yeah.
Crush
I don't
them.
I don't disagree.
Rise, I want
but-
them to rise like a phoenix from the ashes, but first I'm going to burn them to the ground.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. I don't disagree with that either. I try to support as many like moms and dads that are taking, you know, a really active role in their family life. You know,
You know, said
I
it
talk about it
before,
at
we need to
work.
Move to smaller communities that support one
Yeah.
another and build each other up.
But you
and-
can build that in a city though. Like
you can.
like when
But
I
I
was-
mean, it's just called
the city is-
tribalism.
But a
No,
city is
but
built
that's not what
by
I'm
its
talking about, though,
communities,
is-
right?
like you build a community with the people around you, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
whatever you're into. Like for you, like it's jujitsu or martial arts, whatever, in some
Yeah.
sense, in part of it. But
Yeah.
like you build a community in what's around you, and not just your friends, but
No.
literally your
Oh,
neighbors
yeah,
and the people you
yeah.
see the most often. And start there. Like you can do it wherever. We did it in a condo. And condos are
Absolutely.
awful.
No, but that's where it starts, is
Fair.
by
Yeah.
being a better person yourself, and then being a better member of your community. And then all of those communities grow and be better and build up
Yeah.
a city, so it can keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah,
It-
it's true.
It's just that you start with the thing and you expand outward to
You start
make
with your
it better,
family
but-
and work out from there.
Yeah. And it is really challenging because everybody's so isolated, like of their own volition. They live in their own little bubbles of like, keep your head down, don't talk to strangers. And COVID for sure did not help that. So,
No.
and I think that's all by design, but that's a whole other tangent.
Mhm.
We like those.
I could
Next
talk
week,
for a long
next
time.
week on the podcast, the return of
I
COVID
know.
lockdowns.
I get chattier.
No,
when I
next week on the
drink.
podcast, we're talking about men's rights. It's,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good at that too.
Yes.
Fair
And then
enough.
after that, men's rights, as we continue to go further and further right.
Hey, men's rights is not a right wing topic.
No, it shouldn't be.
That's just
It
a
should
normal.
be-
That's just
No.
a people topic.
Well, exactly. I mean,
But-
it's sad that we even have to have that as it should just be, these are human rights because we're all humans, but it's sad that we have to differentiate.
Are we all though?
Well, communists
us are
don't
more
count.
human than
Outside of
others.
that, yes.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
Wow.
Channel your Joe Rogan and what's his face?
Oh, yeah.
Alex
That's what we
Jones.
need to do, is we just need to become so massive like Joe Rogan that we just can't be canceled.
I don't want that.
Yeah, but just
I
think
don't
of
know
I
if
like
that's
it when
better.
nobody knows who I am.
Yeah, I'm
but
pretty
the
cool
money
with
would be
that
nice.
too.
The money would be
Eh,
nice.
money is
but-
the root of all evil.
Yeah, and I'm
No,
okay
the
with
believe
love
it.
of money is the root of all
That is
evil.
true.
that.
Yeah, but I mean, most people can't separate the two.
Yes.
So, but
Just think of how many more guns I could have with all that money.
Yeah, I'm also like, I don't really
That's
want more
fair.
money. I just
guys
would
are like
buy
a
more
country
money to buy
song.
more things.
there's one
I am.
about
Hey,
what I
wait.
could buy me a
We haven't
boat.
talked about the new country song yet that's blown up the charts.
It's
in the
so
last
Oh,
month.
are we
good.
going to talk about?
It's so good.
Whatever.
Can we at
Olive
least
the
mention
Garden?
it? We don't need to talk about it too
It's-
much, but Oliver
But-
Anthony shout out for just
Yeah.
Yeah.
blowing up the
No.
music industry with
And also
just
just
him and a guitar. That's
and
fine.
also
Big mouth
telling
noise, thumbs down.
No,
what
and that's-
do you just
and
not
I
like the
don't-
music?
And I don't care.
I love both kinds of music, country and western.
This is a little different, full
Well,
Appalachian.
then what don't you
Okay.
like about it? I'm curious.
I mean,
Okay. Let's start with just the music part. The music video is outside, but they have all of the reverb. It sounds like he's singing in a concert hall. Can
It's
somebody please mix the music to match the music video?
to be fair,
for
like he
starters.
does this part time as like
I'm not
hobby,
accusing him
so-
of being fair or unfair or otherwise. I'm just saying,
Okay.
like,
Being
I also
critical.
have an audio
Yeah.
board and I can also add all of the reverb. That doesn't make it good music.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving
Next.
on. Next.
Moving. Which Richmond north of Richmond? I
He
understand.
said
what
all
he's
of them
getting
in
at.
interview.
The rich men north of
of Richmond. So like Washington.
Which is Washington
I
DC.
understand. But
yeah,
why
he
are
pretty
we
much he
not-
said all of them. He said all of
Yeah.
them. And he's
in
done
other
interviews.
songs, he's talking about both Republicans and Democrats
Yeah.
and how
So
they're
he actually
taking
said
the money from the poor.
Yeah, he actually said in his interviews, he's like, I'm not cool with how I've been politicized. He's like, I'm not for either side. They're all trash, pretty much.
I mean, I
So
agree
why
with
is
that.
this song suddenly blown up after he's been on YouTube for like 10 years doing music? Why is this song a song that is popular?
Because
He hits
it's
the nerve.
Yeah.
it's timing and
But it
it's just
doesn't say
lucky.
anything.
Exactly.
Well,
But it does.
It kind of does.
It
Have
doesn't.
You,
It's no, it says what the listener wants it to hear because he wants, for example, he wants politicians to pay attention to minors, not just minors on an island. Ha ha, funny double entendre. But why not just say kill pedophiles?
I don't think
'Cause
that
it
would
didn't
fit
rhyme.
lyrically
Andrews-
with
I
a
was gonna
country
say,
song.
I think
That would be
Andrew's
more of
a
like
little
metal song.
jealous that he's not as eloquent. maybe
I mean-
he's saying
But
the same
so
thing as you,
regardless of
but
the-
No, he's not.
No,
The
he's not.
lyrics are left as very open-ended so that the right wing, more conservative people
Yeah.
can take from this song what they want to without it actually saying anything of substance.
All right, so
I have significant criticisms about how it's being politicized
you
by
don't say.
the right-wing punditry without it actually being particularly damning of anyone that the right wing is upset about, because it's not about miners. Specifically,
but
like
that's
West
the
Virginia
point.
coal miners not receiving the pay and funds that they're due.
That
but
was
it
part
is-
of it, though. That was part of the
But,
song.
but it's mentioned only in passing. It's not mentioned about workers' rights. It's not
but
mentioned
nothing is
about-
mentioned in passing
I
when you're
was-
writing a song.
Yeah, I was gonna
Everything is there
say-
for a reason when you're putting a song
I,
together.
d- I
But
strongly disagree.
regardless of that, I think the
I
point,
strongly
the reason,
most popular music is written to appeal to the broadest audience possible to generate revenue, not because of the content of the song.
I think that
agree
you
with
could
you there,
probably teach
but-
a philosophy of music class.
no,
They
so
just
I,
talk in circles about this
I can
stuff.
I can agree with you on, you know, the specifics of why you don't like it. That's fine. Like it's but two things. First, he's not a popular music guy. If you've listened to the rest of his music, it's literally him writing about his own life. And it's just like, I'm
Which,
gonna get
again-
sober.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Having
Anyway,
read a significant amount about this, it seems a lot like it's being astroturf, because why does he have all of these songs that are arguably not any better than this one, and this one has suddenly become very popular, but this one he's been flown to a different location to record it, it's been recorded professionally, it's been mixed professionally, and it's getting all of this attention all of a sudden on the internet by people who otherwise have not paid this kind of music attention in the past.
that's fair.
I'm not saying it's astroturf, I'm saying it looks like astroturf.
Yeah.
He's John
I
Rich
think-
backing him. That's what it is.
That,
Well,
yeah, I mean,
but that happened after though, where and it was, and I don't know if he's even accepted that. John Rich just offered to help him produce. But anyway,
Yes.
I think one of the things that's good about this song blowing up is the fact that it's apolitical. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's good that people from like it's one of those songs where somebody on the left can listen to it and be like, yep, I like that. And like just ignore all the political stuff.
I think
Yeah,
there's
I
also
get what you're
I mean,
saying.
a bit
But
of
it's
a
also
lens
pushing.
now on country music. I mean, if you look at, you know, and I hate to bring it up because pop country is trash and everything, but the
Oh,
whole,
gosh.
you know, Jason Aldean thing, like try that in a small town, was
Yeah.
basically like
Try-
if you read that lyric.
He needs a
there's-
small town to write his lyrics.
well, but there's
It's like 25 writers that guy had.
there was nothing
Yeah,
really
How
true.
is this any different than all of
damning
them?
in that song though, right? Like
He's the only.
it was just everyone's like, yeah, like that wouldn't fly here, like, but
Yeah.
it
I think
never
it's just
centered
people
anyone
are.
out. But
It
the
would.
left is
And I'm
doing the
all-
sort
I will
of the
pick on
opposite
Jason
that the
Aldean as much
right's
as I
doing
will
with
pick on
this
Anthony
one.
Olive Garden. It will fly in a small town. That absolutely
but-
will.
I think
But I
Because
that-
if
think
it
it's the-
didn't, the Americans wouldn't have burned down their own cities for 3 years because of all the
Yeah.
rioting that they
I
had
don't-
happen.
But I
I
think
don't
this is the
disagree.
left though doing the opposite of what the right's doing in the other one, where like there was nothing really bad in those songs that said anything, but they're reading into it and going, "Oh, he's being
Yes.
racist about black."
Because
people."
if you see it, it's for you, and it's
Yeah.
being written in a way that specifically targets the demographics
But-
that would enjoy country and Western music.
But
It
isn't that the
targets
point?
working cla-
Yeah.
Isn't that
It
the
is
point? Like
absolutely
it's
the point.
I was
It
gonna
is
say, like
absolutely
it's
the
a
point.
rise up anthem for some people, and in
It
a
should
in a
not
s-
be.
yeah, but I mean, why? Why not? Because in the past few years, people have been, you know, a little beat down. So for the most part, like people are rallying behind things that really aren't that bad of a
No,
thing
I
to rally
guarantee
behind.
in a year, no one will remember that this happened.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But
It is
in a
not
year,
okay.
and it's I see it the same as the Bud Light
Thing.
boycott. and
Dylan
everything.
Mulvaney
It's
thing.
it's the same. No, it's the same as the boycott. Not Dylan Mulvaney. It's the same as now you actually see something shit.
Mhm.
Target has lost 27% market share. 27%. Their sales fell for the first time like ever.
6 years. It was like the biggest margin dump.
Well, no, but their sales specifically also fell, which is
Okay.
unheard of for Target.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
Bud Light is down ridiculous amounts. Nobody buys it. They're literally giving away gift cards for larger amounts than what it costs you to buy Bud Light. Just so that
Part of
they can
me
keep their
thinks-
sales numbers up.
Part of me thinks a lot of
Like,
that
something
though
is shifting.
well, I think it's COVID really caused everybody to be a little bit more dogmatic about things.
Well,
You
it's-
know, and part of me wonders if that's a little bit it is that the folks that do stand up and do want to be bold about their perspective and about their views and really, you know, advocate and be active in regards to it, especially maybe more traditionally conservative voices that don't, you know, like liberals are kind of known for being the loud ones, right? So sometimes, you know, seeing that, like, this is people just getting sparked by this and realizing that they do have, you know, a way to affect change. I don't know.
I think it's good to see anti-government things come mainstream. And
Yeah.
I'm happy about
It's
that.
a step in the
wish
right
that's what we
direction.
were seeing.
But
It's fair.
I'm more
I mean,
optimistic.
there's a lot of like songs
which
in
is
the
great, and I
60s and
appreciate
70s
it.
that are along the same line though. There's a lot of songs in the 60s and 70s that are along the same lines.
yeah, I mean, it is, even if it's contrived, it is nice to see something that is coming out that is popular, that is either central or even slightly to the right,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like trash, like WAP and other degenerate garbage that is mainstream and only further causes us to like circle the toilet bowl that we are currently in.
I'd be fine if they just stop making music. I'm
You're not
okay
like a
with that.
music person.
I love music. I just there's not been any good music come out in the last 10
Yeah.
years.
It's been a
Probably-
minute.
yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that though.
Yeah, few
But
and
this is
far
this is
between.
like the over commercialization, hyper production level of like it needs the catchy beat, so it gets lots of airtime, so it gets lots of listens, so it has lots of download, and it doesn't require any substance or actual talent because we have auto tune and we can record this outside in a field, and we'll just turn the reverb all the way up to fucking 11.
Well, I
You're
mean,
Really
yeah,
stuck
put it
on
in
that,
11.
aren't you?
I mean, there is a
The
formula, and if you write to
production
the formula,
quality is not good.
it will basically make anything a hit. Because it ticks
Post
all the
Malone
right
actually
things.
talked about that. He's like,
Yeah.
I think that in a couple of years, you listen to him on Joe Rogan, he said he's like, in a couple of years, like things like AI and Chat GPT, you
It's
can
already there.
like, yeah, well,
Yep.
he's like, yeah, you can
Already
just
there.
get them to write you a song
There's already
with
can
my
already
AI
do
that is
voice. Yeah.
writing music, because
Yep.
music is basically a math formula.
Not
And there are
only
things
can
that-
you,
Yeah.
sorry, not only can you write a hit song just using AI, you can also have pick your famous artist,
Yeah. to
sing that
it.
song
Yeah.
with AI.
Yeah.
And eventually just do the music video for you. You could just talk at your computer, it will do
Hear
all
that,
of the
Anthony
things.
Olive Garden? We're putting you out of a job. Chat GPT is going to replace you.
Yeah,
Back
there
to
are
the
already people that are doing
breadsticks.
Yeah.
Anthony Olive Garden. I like it.
Goodness.
I don't. Maybe he's a nice enough guy. Maybe he writes good music. I'm just like this seems like AstroTurf.
It-
Like
it
this
is
is
odd that
there
it's
is a
blown up.
targeted marketing campaign to make this happen because nothing on the internet is organic anymore.
Yeah. I
Things
agree
do
with
I
that.
not
disagree.
get popular on YouTube. No, I'm sorry, man. The YouTube algorithm is so highly curated. Nothing is
I-
getting popular
yes.
on YouTube because it's actually popular. It's
But it
popular
didn't-
because someone has decided it's popular.
It didn't blow up on YouTube though. It blew up on Twitter and then it went to YouTube.
Potato. It does not make a difference.
Elon hasn't fixed that yet. Probably never will.
It's less broken than it was. It's
yeah,
definitely not fixed.
the rebranding
the
is
the
super lame now.
mainstream
Yes.
part of
Yes,
the internet
agreed.
is so highly curated,
X
and
is
there
so
are so
dumb.
many people working on developing the advertising algorithms to make sure that the right content goes to the right people to generate clicks to sell products. It does not matter. The internet is no longer organic. It hasn't been in 10 years.
Fair.
I'm old enough to remember when it was good.
I miss when the internet was good.
Yeah,
the
but also
early
to access
2000s.
the internet, you had to hear a bunch of screeching noises because it was dial-up.
It's true.
Worth it.
Yeah, but you could turn your computer on, start connecting to the internet, go play with your friends for half an hour, come back, and it would just connect, and you just start doing your thing.
Yeah,
I have to say,
and then do
in
that
my,
again to watch a page load. Yeah.
Yeah,
in my memory though, like, okay, so I already had my Wi-Fi conk out on me tonight. I don't ever remember that happening in dial-up. It was like the sturdiest.
Unless somebody
Connection.
picked up the phone.
yes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You had to have multiple
Yep.
lines.
Yep.
It's kind of like the fax machine too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, the good old days. The good
Remember
old days.
MSN Messenger?
Yes. I still have my like first email address. I did not go down the route of, all the weird email
Yes.
addresses that people would get.
Man,
I'm
I
with you,
had the same
taxpayer
email
Dave.
address for almost 20 years and I only just changed.
Oh wow.
Nice
Look at you. That's good.
Finally
I-
became a man.
I
I
find
too
I,
miss
I
the
moved up
international
to
liberty or
a
death.
paid yes, I'm with taxpayer Dave too, Gavin. I
Yeah.
also miss the International Liberty or Death podcast.
Yeah.
Although this feels kind of in that genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never listened.
You're missing
We'll have
out.
to
I
send
hope
you the
Tyler and
back-
Matt are well.
Yeah. We'll have to send you the back catalog.
I'm sure I can find it. By Karen
No,
up.
I'm pretty sure you can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
What premise? Is it just a little bit crazier than what you guys normally talk about?
I wouldn't say crazier, more
That's my language, obviously not yours.
I mean,
But-
I wouldn't say it's anything crazier than what we talk about because Andrew and I guested on that. So it's crazy things that we do talk about.
I've got it. Okay. Just trying to get a scope of reference here. It's fair enough.
But maybe we put things more eloquently on this particular podcast than on
Got
that
it.
one.
Okay.
You had to
We
hone your
remain
craft over there.
a little bit more sober.
Yes, definitely a little bit more sober.
Oh wait,
Well,
like
now
you
you're
guys
just
were
now you're just
more
letting the people
drunk
down.
on the other one?
Well,
There
again,
were
not our
some, yeah.
podcast. We were only guests on it on
Yeah,
occasion.
but I mean, okay. So there was copious amounts of drinking on the other one.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Copious amounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not metric tons.
No.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Are we talking about anything else? Or are we wrapping it up?
I'm ready to call it tonight.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
this G and T's
yeah.
doing great things here. So I'm just about ready,
Ready
to, call
to
it
take
quits.
over India?
Sure. It's not. That's not
Isn't
the.
that where?
That's not
Isn't that
the.
where that's from?
I don't know if all gin is from there, but
Well, not all gin. I thought the gin and tonic was a thing the Britons did when they were in India.
oh, I
I
don't
thought
know.
that was like the history of gin and tonics. Am I making that up?
I'm.
Somebody
I'm a
fact
look
check
at.
me.
I'm 100% looking
Yeah,
it up.
where's our
I'm not
intern?
fast
Yeah.
checking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scottish doctor George something discovered that
No, say it. You're Scottish. You have to read it.
MacGregor.
Cleghorn.
Come on.
1700s. Calm down. Yeah, by the 1800s, British soldiers stationed in India were drinking gin as a
Nailed
treatment
it.
for malaria.
I love
Or
learning
any
about alcohol.
available booze and tonic to get their daily dose of. Is it quinine? I don't know if I'm saying that right. The
Yeah,
active
yeah.
ingredient in tonic. So
Yeah.
it's not even the gin; it's the tonic.
Have
It
you
was
had
being-
tonic? It's disgusting. You need something to take the flavor away. Although I don't think gin is the right choice.
Because okay, so gin. This is an
Tonic
interesting
sucks.
thing.
Gin's okay.
Gin actually, like gin distilleries were only allowed back in England like recently in the last 20 years because they actually for a period that was the only alcohol that was not taxed.
Yeah.
So people would only consume gin, right? Well, the problem is that people were consuming so much gin that it had actually gone beyond their water consumption. So gin was actually a cause of death. Like gin consumption became a cause of death because so many people were just
I
over
hope that
consuming.
I go out in some sort of spectacular fashion like that. What killed
Yeah.
him? Beer. Like a whole truckload of beer.
Well, I mean,
Maybe that's
like,
maybe that's what all the unspecified, unconfirmed deaths are now in Canada.
Yeah, gin consumption. Although, like, make
Bucks
sure
to
you have like
beer?
a really
Oh.
good catchphrase or whatever, like Dylan Thomas did when he was dying and like fell off his bar stool and was like 15 whiskeys. I believe that's a record, and then
Just fell off. Yeah.
yeah.
Also 15 is not a record.
Well, he probably had a shit ton more than that earlier, but it was probably like 15 in that particular seat or whatever. I don't know, but he has a memorable quote like that or something right before he died.
Shall we go around and somebody clean up the show notes later? Because I think we talked about 3 articles, but
Yeah.
Good
shall we
start.
go around and where can everybody find everybody? We'll start with Liz when she's done interning there. Liz, where can everyone find you on the internet?
Here.
Perfect. You can find
Yeah.
Liz here,
Mm-hmm. That's it.
where we will discuss country and Western music and men's rights.
Sure.
The 3 things that matter to me most. Pierre, you're not Pierre. Peter. Pierre's gone.
English Pierre. I'm not really anywhere anymore, but so I'm gonna
Peter
shout
is
out.
also only here
Yeah,
and only in English.
but I'm
That's
gonna
great.
use I'm gonna use my time instead to shout out donaldbest.ca for some bringing to light some crap that's going on in our legal system. He's a really good whistleblower over the years, so check him out.
Yeah, there you go.
Pierre disappeared. We don't know where he is. But
There's
if you
links in the show
want,
notes.
if you want a shirt, yes, links, show notes, off the wall customizing. I think you have to email them offthewallcustomizing@gmail.com.
You can find them on most socialist medias.
Excellent. Gavin, where can everyone find you?
When I'm not doing fun things with my friends at the base, you can find me on the internet on Instagram or BexGTA.
If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code when you're checking out at ragnaroktactical.ca. Use the discount code Patriot at checkout. And I have to apologize to Rod Galtaka. Rod couldn't decide which music he liked better, country or Western, so we couldn't get him on the show this week to talk about Anthony Olive Garden.
It is tough to pick. I mean, they're both fantastic.
Yeah,
They really are.
they have their time and or place. Yes.
Yeah.
By definition, yes, one of them is a place. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you're a small fringe